Hello, and as mentioned in the latest prime time, I had the nice privilege of being invited by Vacheron Constantin to a New York event, and without taking it too personally, I was really starting to feel like rain was following me wherever I went over the last few weeks. But hazardous weather conditions would actually be part of the content of this event, as we were invited to meet photographer and mountain climber Cory Richards, a man in his late 30s, who's had a very interesting life experience, which he shared rather brilliantly with us. And I'm always impressed by these guys' aptitude of not only performing real exploits, but also being able to relate to them in a way that can be truly inspiring, like a two-sided mission, in fact, accomplishment and sharing it. So after having recently seen two super cool but almost scary documentaries on some crazy climbers who tamed the famous El Capitan mountain, I must admit I was looking forward hearing some further mountain climbing stories. Cory Richards is part of Vacheron Constantin, one of not many campaigns. So the first thing that kind of strikes you is, do you really associate this venerable brand to the adventurous activities of a mountain climber? But here I have to say it's really the journey and the experience of the guy which is interesting. So to mark a new expedition to climb Mount Everest this year without using any oxygen bottles, well, Vacheron produced a one-off version of its overseas dual time, nice color combination and nice special engraving of the Himalayas on the gold rotor. But coming back on this notion of journey, Cory Richards and his climbing partner had to abandon their attempt just a bit short of being on top, since weather changes obliged them to rejoin base camp. So let's just listen to Cory. And I know that we don't really talk about proper mechanical watchmaking in this video report, but I have to admit that as an entrepreneur, I saw this experience like one of those inspirational conferences that you can attend, and it made me feel good. So let's just listen.
On Everest, there's all sorts of pressure shifts that take place because there's not as much pressure outside. The air pressure is about half or a third on the summit as we experience at sea level. So there's some complications with that. Beyond that, there's also the extreme cold. And when we're climbing at that sort of temperature, I wear the watch next to my skin to keep it warmer. It's a little bit harder to get at to check the time, but one of the ways to ensure that it's actually going to stay warm is to keep it as close to your body as possible, and the best place for that is on your wrist. And there's a lot of hard metal around you, a lot of pointy objects, a lot of stone, a lot of ice. So the watch gets banged around. So it's really hard to come up with a timepiece that actually is built to withstand that, but still maintains, the level of elegance and refinement that is sort of expected to come from somebody like Vacheron Constantin. So we worked really hard with the materials that we chose to include in the construction of the watch to make it something that was both reflective of the sort of the ethos of the brand and the sort of the higher calling that refinement that has defined the brand for so long. The idea behind the dual time, obviously there's a utilitarian function to it, and that tells us what time it is back home. The truth is, and where I find it to be more special, is that the dual time has always acted for me as a reminder that there is a community, there are people that exist in my life outside of myself that care and are as invested in me as I am, and so it's a reminder that that I have loved ones, and that I have friends, and that I have a whole world outside of the exact moment that's happening right now, and those people genuinely care for my well-being, and so it's a reminder of the responsibility that I have to them to be safe, to come home, and to not push it too far.
I looked up to my right, and off a mountain called Vacheron 5, there was a massive wall of snow coming towards us, a massive avalanche. I was going to die. And what's interesting is when that happens, when the brain starts to prepare for death, many fascinating psychological processes start to take place. It's the experience of misunderstanding, not understanding what it means to be alive, when you know that your reality is or should be something different. It's a very confusing moment in time.
The environment, the mountain environment itself, has sort of its own relationship with time, in that it can change in an instant. One of the reasons that Everest was such a hard mountain this year was because the weather window, the amount of time that we had to go to the top was so short. That's why everything got so dangerous, because it was, what would normally be drawn out over several days, or even last year, like a couple weeks, was truncated and pushed into a shorter window of time.
And after climbing for nearly 5,000 feet, we had to down climb 5,000 feet. You can't rappel it, and that's even worse. I can't tell you how horrible down climbing is. And it's so bad and it's so strenuous that it almost makes you want to risk it and just keep going.
It's not about the summit, it's about the journey. What I find interesting about that is that I agree with it wholeheartedly, but oftentimes you have to reach the summit in order to understand that it doesn't matter. So it's almost like a rhetorical question, or a Zen koan, or something that it's an unanswerable or sort of it's a cyclical concept. One piece relies on itself, but at the same time extracts itself. And so I've learned that lesson before, because I have gone to the top before, and I've done this I've climbed this mountain before. But at the same time, trying something new, trying something different, I had to relearn that failure is part of the process.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this rather different video. All the best, see you real soon, and it was nice to be in New York, and a big Viva Watchmaking to you!